calculating your benchmarks and KPIs. Ultimately, no client should be going through this at any point without having a very firm grasp on what their benchmarks and KPIs are, having them clearly defined, and then keeping them front of mind, at least on a monthly basis, to make sure that you are within the parameters that you need to be to hit your scaling goals. So ultimately, to get your company's benchmarks and KPIs, you need to know the following metrics. A lot of these we're going to outline for you in your marketing workbook. However, if you look at them, you need to know what is the goal revenue you're trying to achieve. You can't aimlessly go towards a target if you don't know what that target is. You're flying blind. You need to know what your revenue is per product or service. So if you are selling a coaching service, if you're selling a roof, whatever it may be, how much is that service? If you are selling a service that's variable like a roof, where the price of the roof can change greatly, take the average revenue that you earn per sale. Okay, look at your last year's sales and then divide them by the number of sales that you had, and then that would be your average revenue per sale. Your cost of goods sold, you'll do the same thing. So how much it costs you to deliver, like your materials and labor, and then your desired net profit margin. The golden ratio, this is ultimately for like coaches, consultants, agencies, etc. Typically like the roofing business, things like that, you're going to be down more towards a 15% gross profit margin, 15 to 20. You should never, no business should be under 15, simply because at that point you won't have essentially the revenue to cover overhead. But I would set, if you're one of those local service businesses, I would set 25 and then adjust accordingly if you need to go down lower. However, from there, you need your sales commission rate, close rate, booking rate, and show up rate. These things we're going to go ahead and just estimate until we get stronger variables, stronger data. But these are going to be like benchmarks that we're going to set using what we've seen for 700 clients plus, et cetera, over the last 3 years. Now, I've broken down some calculations for you guys to essentially break down your benchmarks and your KPIs. These are going to be here for reference if you guys want to manually calculate these things out. However, from this perspective, we're going to use the marketing workbook from here. So if you look inside the marketing workbook, you will see cells in yellow under your KPI calculator dashboard. So under this calculator, this will essentially give you the metrics and KPIs that you need to be aiming for, and it will also give our team the same metrics so we can measure against. Here you're going to enter your goal monthly revenue. So where do you want to be at on a monthly basis? Not an annual basis, but a monthly basis. If your goal is 10 million, divide it by how much ever time left you have in the year, and that'll break down what you need to be for at a monthly basis. However, one thing to note is you always have a ramp up timeline, so an annual goal is going to be a little bit tapered, if you will. From there, how much you make per sale, your operating cost per sale, your sales commission rate, your desired gross profit margin, and then these metrics you can measure or you can play with. However, these are ultimately, we're going to keep these here, and then we can adjust them after the first month of ad management once we have a stronger booking and show up rate. And then typically towards the end of the program, you'll be able to optimize these. However, we're going to go through these real quick. So let's just say I want to make $500,000 per month. For me to know what I need for my benchmarks and my KPIs to make $500,000 a month, I can take my revenue, I'm going to make it simple with round numbers. If I make $10,000 per sale, then I essentially need 50 sales. So the sales KPI here is essentially breaking down, I need 50 sales for a $10,000 revenue per sale to make $500,000 a month. If my operating cost per sale for everything I sell, it's going to cost me this much in team and materials, so labor and materials to deliver that service. So let's just say $38.45. So that's going to be my operating cost to deliver the service that we sell is 38.45%. That's pretty high. However, it is a fair rate depending on what the industry is. Okay. Then I have my sales commission. I pay a 10% sales commission, and I have a desired gross profit margin to work with. So if I have a 30% desired gross profit margin, that gives me 70% of my revenue to pay for my operating costs for things like my team and labor, to pay my sales commission for each sale, and to pay my marketing budget. So right here we have our operating costs and we have our sales commission per sale. Then what we can do is essentially break this down. If our goal is to make $500,000, then our operating costs, we'll keep it in this cell, for our desired gross, we need to keep our operating, marketing, and sales expenses to be under $350,000. Well, if we know that our operating cost is going to be $192,000, and we know that our sales commission is going to be $50,000, and we need to stay under this budget, then this is going to give us how much we have left over for marketing spend, which is this number here. Okay? So from there, if these metrics are true, then we know where our KPIs need to be and what our cost per KPI needs to be to stay under this marketing budget and keep all things relative. So the way this is broken down is we take our sales in order to generate this monthly revenue, and then we use our percentages to reverse engineer how many leads we need to generate. Okay, so if we need 50 sales and we have a 20% close rate, that means we need to make an offer to 250 people so we can close 50 of them. All right. And then if we are making an offer at 65%, 65% of the people we meet with, we give an offer to, then we take 250 and divided by 65%, and that's going to show how many people we actually need to meet with in order to make 50 sales. Well, if we have a show up rate of 65%, then we can take the people we need to meet with divided by 65%, and that's going to show how many calls we need to book, 592. And then from there, if we have a 30% booking rate, this is total. People that book straight from ads to the funnel, the appointments that your setters set, etc. If 30% of all leads we generate book an appointment, then we know we can take the number of book calls that we need, divide it by the number or the percentage of our booking rate, and that's going to give us our total leads. Then from here, we can essentially calculate the KPI with the marketing budget that we have. So if we need 1,972 leads and we have $107,750 to work with, we can spend $55 per lead. If we go above that, then we know we're going to be flirting outside of our gross profit margin metrics. Now, granted, this is a benchmark that we want to hit. Some months we're going to crush this benchmark because our operating costs are lower than they are. Our marketing costs are lower than they are. But other months, it's going to be more expensive to generate leads, and this is going to be lower. The objective is when we're filing our taxes, we look at it all in all, we are right around this threshold, and our variance from delta, which is essentially say delta is the target, our variance from delta is plus or minus 1%. Okay? So from this, and ultimately, you know, if the gross profit margin is 38%, that's nothing we're going to be complaining about. But with that in mind, this is going to give us to know we can spend $182 to book an appointment. We can spend $55 to generate a lead, and we are going to remain hyper profitable in the ability to scale accordingly. So with that in mind, one thing I do want to note here is you probably do not have $108,000 to spend on your marketing budget right now. And that's completely fine. This is ultimately giving you what your goal is, what you would need to spend based on your goal to hit that target. So the marketing that we do today operates within these parameters. And then from there, you're just reinvesting profits and revenue as you start working towards this goal. That is benchmarks and KPIs. Look forward to having you leverage these throughout your marketing campaigns. One last final note is your benchmarks and KPIs are automatically pulled over into our asset build document for cost per lead and cost per appointment. These are going to be the cost or the KPI targets that our media buyers are using. So from here, after you run these calculations, that's what our team's going to use. So please make sure that you calculate these out before your ads go live. And arguably, if you could do it a week or two before your ads go live, the better off we're going to be, because once things are scheduled and set up to go live, this is what the media buyer is going to be aiming for inside your account.